What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a great day. I'm still on my San Francisco tour, and today I'm doing Alamo Square Park, which is actually, you can see here, a lot of people live around this park, but it's at the same time it's a major attraction. So I'm gonna go around and see what's going on with these Victorian style houses over there, which are basically houses that I really like. It's one of the best things for me about San Francisco is these Victorian slash Edwardian style houses. So here we go. So in my first video I was pretty ignorant about everything, you know, as far as the history of the city and everything that's going on. But then I did a lot of research, right? I did a lot of research about the architecture of the city, the Victorian architecture with a little bit of Gothic touch, 1800, late 1800s, you know, and it's actually not just, you know, Victorian. It's Victorian with a little bit of other stuff, and this is basically one of the highlighting themes of the city. One thing I want to say though is that there's a big difference between the drivers in San Francisco and the drivers in Los Angeles, and that difference is that how people interpret the yellow light. People interpret the yellow light in Los Angeles as go. So in Los Angeles the yellow light is go. In San Francisco, the yellow light is stop. So that's the big difference. One of the biggest differences. Let me go down these stairs because I actually drove through here. And there are so many parks in the city, but there was an exact view. There was an exact view that I was looking for, and I'm trying to get it again. It was a view where you can see a skyline from the houses, and I don't know, I'm just trying to get it, but I'm probably gonna go get it as I go around. Probably gonna get it, but it's very nice architecture. I would say though that a lot of these places, there've been, you know, what a lot of developers do is that they collect these very authentic San Francisco Victorian style homes, and of course, you know the story. They would turn them into these disgusting concrete blocks. You know, the steep, very steep streets, very steep inclinations of the city. It's also one of the major things about the city. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of architecture here. I've had like 2 days in San Francisco, so I mean, I'm trying to get as much as I can here. trying to get as much as I can as far as the architecture and everything else with regards to the major parks, the major history, the major streets of the city. So San Francisco has a very old history. It goes back to I would say the 1800s. I would say probably the late 1800s, when it was really started becoming a city. People started flocking in, and but really, what you can call the beginning, or one of the real beginnings of San Francisco, started actually with the gold rush, when people started coming here in very large or very big populations to dig basically for gold. And they came to San Francisco over other cities for that specific reason, to catch the gold rush, which is kind of ironic because people still come here for the same reason, but instead of the gold rush, it's whatever, the AI rush. Before that was the dot-com boom. It was all these different things. And that's basically how everything started. Now, in the beginning, it was the Spanish territory, of course, and then in the Mexican War of Independence, it was given to Mexico, or Mexico basically won it in the war. And after that, in the war, in the American-Mexican War, the city was basically conquered, or it was won by the American army. And there's a big history for the Spanish, what you can call the Spanish, explorers or whatever. And they actually had a big chunk of the city, a big chunk of California. Before it was, started becoming or belonging to America. And that's basically one of the things about San Francisco. And the architecture is it's just like, the cable trams, and the Victorian houses. Very much a nice look for a great city. And over there, if you look at the skyline, the towers over there, that big tower, this is the Salesforce Tower. And then the other towers, a bunch of other towers, I don't know exactly which one is what, but that distinctive one, the tallest one right here on the right, this is the Salesforce one, which is a company that does, whatever, look it up. But it's a pretty big company. So I would say something about the people of San Francisco, though. They're very, kind of like to themselves. They're not like LA people. LA people are more talkative, good morning can turn into like a 15-20 minute conversation with someone. With LA people, San Francisco people are kind of different. They kind of like to stay to themselves. They're not as, you can say, talkative. As people from LA, San Francisco people. Now look at this building right here. Look at this masterpiece. This is really a masterpiece of, I wouldn't say it's Victorian architecture 100%. You know, I would say it's has a little bit of other stuff too, maybe Gothic. But because you can see the difference, these windows in the at the bottom, you know, at the bottom of the building, the windows in the first floor, that's a very distinctive feature of Victorian architecture, and you pretty much, you don't see that, you don't see them in the same way in that building. To be honest, I'm not even sure that this is the park that I passed earlier. It's crazy. I don't even know. Really, every one of those houses is honestly, every one of those houses is a masterpiece. Every one of those houses is a true masterpiece of architecture. And I think honestly these houses should be protected, like, you know, how people do in LA, where like a developer would come and he would, you know, buy 5 of the old houses, old nice California houses that used to have a front yard and a backyard, and he would build the whole big like apartment, 3-4 story apartment, you know, concrete block on them, you know. I don't think this should ever be allowed here. I mean, I think this should be protected by law, by the city, because you're never gonna be able to make architecture like that. This Victorian architecture, this is something that is absolutely irreplaceable. I think maybe and probably this was the place where I passed earlier here today. So San Francisco has major history. It goes back to the generations of the beatniks and the hippies, right? The beatniks were in the 1950s, and then after that the hippies were in the 1960s, and every generation had their own political, you know, views and issues at the time. Every generation had their own, you know, kind of like music, and it's almost like each one of those generations had with them their own philosophy. There were philosophers that accompanied these movements. There were music that accompanied there were even financial movements, you know, that accompanied these movements. You know, the Back to Earth movement, that was one thing. You can call this almost a financial movement, because you can say, well, they said you can go back and then you can figure out a system where you don't have to be connected to the monetary, the fiat currency system in the monetary modern finance and stuff like that. So they say, okay, well, there can be maybe a system where you can have a closed or a sufficient system where people don't have to rely on that model of existence that existed in society at the time, with the industrialization and all that. A lot of people are opposed to that for its effects on the environment and for its destruction, and it's, you know, being something that induces war and all these different factors. So it's really was one of the main things that came out of this movement. And I think to this day, one of the longest lasting effects of this movement, as far as like the movement with the hippies and everything like that, is this whole back to earth thing and this whole back to earth movement. And to this day, you can see that with people that live off the grid and want to be self-sufficient and have minimal carbon footprint and destruction to the environment and things like that. All of this stuff comes or came essentially, a lot of the philosophies for that came from the hippie movement in San Francisco in the 1960s and what came out of that. There we have a bunch of nice trees. It's funny, like it's almost like the city is designed in ways where the views are taken into consideration. So like every part of the city where you go, there's a place where you can see the skyline, and then the signs. Oh, we got a rainbow right here, but I don't know if it's gonna show on this camera, but there's actually a beautiful rainbow right here. It's kind of raining a little bit, so it's just a perfect textbook rainbow. It's basically coming out of the skyline and all the way up through here. I'm pretty sure it's not going to show on the GoPro right here, but you know what? Maybe I'll take a picture of it with the phone. So that's it. It's very nice park. The rainbow. I think the rainbow's going away now. So Alamo Square Park. What's really also different about San Francisco is just the views are different. I think either because of the very much the inclinations of the city and the different levels. You have, you have places where you can be in a park like this and you see a beautiful like view of the downtown San Francisco and all the towers, the business district. You can see that from here, and you can see it in such a nice way because there's different levels to the city. There's an inclination to it, and that's why you can see such a in such an elaborative way. And that's it, the rainbow actually is still there, but so from the beatniks and then the hippies in the 1960s, and the famous Summer of Love in 1967, which was a one of the biggest events in the history of San Francisco, defining the city. And like I said, there were so many aspects of music and philosophy, everything adjacent, almost like you had the philosophers of that time, you can the California philosophers, you can mention people like Alan Watts and this other guy Ram Dass or whatever, with a whole bunch of other ones. Then you have the music as well, with all the bands of that time and the people that made songs about the incidents and the philosophies of that period, right? There are so many names. I mean, there are people like and also writers, not just music, but also writers, right? So and philosophers and thinkers and books. Timothy Leary, and the Grateful Dead was also a big band at that time that you can sort of like say captured the soul of that period, or captured the essence of that period in their songs and then the things that happened at that time. Yeah, there's pretty much not a lot of people to talk to here, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around this park one more time, and then I'm gonna leave for a different part of the city. Which I hope is gonna be a lot sunnier, a lot more sunny, and maybe there will be a lot more people as well. Oh, there's a tennis court right here. Oh, coyote. They have coyotes right here too. How can they have? I mean, how can they have all these animals? This is surrounded by a residential neighborhood. How can these animals make it through here to here? That's one thing that I'm not. That I don't understand these things. Yeah, a lot of every view here is a very nice view, and the weather is nice. The sun is a little bit. The sun is coming up at the same time. There's a lot of people here with their dogs, without a leash, which is dangerous, and I have strong opinions about that. I do have strong opinions about people who let their dogs off the leash in a public park. Okay, so entering dog play area, dogs may be off leash. Okay. I guess that this is different than regular park, where you're not supposed to have your dog off the leash.